All right, what's up, everyone? I want to keep the intro for YouTube short and sweet. I recorded the gameplay of me doing a first attempt clear in Hades, and then my friend Beaan and I did a live stream where we shared our thoughts on the game overall, and then commentated that first run. This will be Beane's first time ever seeing that first run, and there will be spoilers for Hades throughout the video. With that being said, here we go. I'm gonna start the video now. We're gonna hop into this. I don't know how long. I may have to sort the audio. If anybody's listening and the audio is kind of like louder than you would think or anything, I can fiddle with that. I'm hearing it as well, so I can fiddle it live. But yeah, you just saw me on the screen delete the save, start a brand new file. Here it is. This is fresh. Yeah, I don't really know exactly what to talk about. Obviously, we'll see when I jump into it. But there's definitely a lot of interesting things going on when you play a first run.
I'm really curious what your build ends up being.
Oh, that was one thing I wanted to talk about for sure. So the first god that you interact with is Athena every time. I think it's interesting that there's fights in that room right there that I pause a lot. I'll have to like manually skip forward on my video player. I pause a lot because of what I was talking about earlier. I do a lot of things while I'm playing a game. I don't just play it. I'll sit down on my computer, talk to somebody. Yeah, maybe I should have, but I didn't. But it's cool because it'll kind of work for me to talk as well. If it's taking forever, I can always zip it. But if I was in a conversation point that I want to continue, it works out well. But yeah, there's enemies in that first room in every run except the first one. But what I wanted to say when you talked about like interesting what my build is the very first thing is always Athena. That's just built into the game. Mm-hmm. And she always offers you the same three things, which is dash, cast, and attack, I believe. And I feel like the Athena dash has kind of been like glamorized for people that like this game. Oh, Athena dash, so good, so good. Always use Athena dash, best thing. And I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't even know if I skip all the dialogue for the record, because I tried this a lot and I didn't care about hearing it. You can pause and read it if you want to read the first dialogue all over again. But yeah, so I did take Athena dash first. I don't know if anybody saw with how fast I was going, but I did take Athena dash first, and I always took Athena dash first. But I just wanted to like defend myself or disclaimer myself and say that I took it not because I think Athena dash is the best thing in the history of the world. I don't even know if I think it's better than her cast. I took Athena dash first because Athena dash doesn't get better with upgrades, and the first boon you get is always like common rarity. It's not upgraded. Wow. So I could get her dash first and then get her cast when her cast is like epic rarity and is really good.
Yeah, that's good.
So the dash, I mean, it gets better with the upgraded rarity in that like it does more damage, but nobody's using Athena dash for damage.
Right.
So it goes from like 12 damage to 14 damage, and who cares? And there's a perfect example of what I just said.
Does the damage count for the reflected projectiles?
No, because that's brilliant repost that I showed you earlier.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a set reflected damage amount. The dash just does like 12 damage, and if you upgrade it, it does 14. But this is what I was talking about. Look, the very next boon I got was Athena, and look at the three that are on the screen.
Yeah.
It's an epic cast. The standard cast is like 85. The epic is 119. That's a huge difference.
Yeah, that's a good difference.
The dash would be like 12 versus 16, and you're never even trying to hit the enemy with the dash anyway. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to defend why I took Athena's dash with the first one, even though I do think it's in a way overrated. A lot of stuff happens at the beginning of the run, so I was like talking about one thing, couldn't talk about another thing. One thing that I will say is obviously this game is RNG, but that very first set of enemies is predetermined because it's like the tutorial that teaches you the game. And your boy definitely did memorize patterns to take them out and know where they were spawning and stuff like that, like a speedrunner in a traditional game. But obviously you can't exactly do that with the rest of them. I mean, look at this cast. It just takes out every enemy in Tartarus in like one hit. Not every, like it won't take out the big buff guys, but and obviously my aim was pretty bad there. But like I can just throw that and he's dead, and then throw that and he's dead. And normally if I was playing a regular run in Tartarus, I wouldn't be so worried about like taking a hit because I get health back every chamber I go in, and you can get a bunch of health everywhere and all this other. Health is a very scarce thing in the first run.
Oh, I bet.
And so even in Tartarus, getting hit by a stray wizard projectile is the worst. It's like stubbing your toe. It's so upsetting. So having that cast just kill one-shot people and be a projectile when you have to use the sword, you got to remember that that's your cast is your only projectile this whole run. Oh, and here was another example in the video. Okay, yeah, I moved my cursor. Of what I was talking about earlier, where like I have Athena and I have stuff that reflects, so I'm deliberately hoping for Brilliant Repost every time. It's not there, Bronze Skin and Sure Footing are, but if one of those was Brilliant Repost, for sure I'm taking that over anything. It's just kind of thoughts that you have to do when you're trying to do like a first run. Things that you have to think about. I did not intentionally hope to get like Athena every single time, but this run gave me a crap ton of Athena in a row. So I was like, I guess I'm doing an Athena build. Which is cool. It's good. I mean, you're guaranteed to have Athena, so why not hope to get more stuff from her? These guys, I think, are really fun first bosses.
Yeah, I always like them.
I do think it's a little... And you kind of talked about how Hades is such a good game with like so little assets put into it, and they are legitimately just a reused enemy from the next level. And I do think that's a little... I don't know if lazy is the best word, but, you know, a little unimpressive. But I think that they're a good skill check in the first area. They're not hard.
Saving measure.
They're not like absurdly hard or anything. I think they're appropriate. And I did just buy Brilliant Repost there. By default, Brilliant Repost does like, it makes your reflected things do like 80% extra damage, and then that was an upgraded rarity, so it did like 111, which is very useful.
Yeah.
It like takes out wizard projectiles. It like one-shots them back by reflecting their projectile at them. I have a lot of thoughts. Obviously, this is like my run, and I'm like talking throughout it. But if you have anything to say, please chime in, because you've never seen this before. So I want to try and yeah.
Oh, it's in just like seeing you beat it the first.
You've never seen
that
this
speed
video.
run. Oh, that's true.
So if you have any questions or anything that you think is interesting, you know, definitely chime in. I'm just talking so that it's not silent.
Yeah, it's interesting to me that it seems like you've played this game so much more than me that your like the attacks that you choose to do seem to be way more efficient than what I would do. Like you're using the correct thing in every correct scenario, you know?
Yeah, like how I'm taking out the skulls with one like special move.
Yeah.
I say that and then I miss a bunch, but I know that the special move one hits them and the attack doesn't. I specifically let them group up there and take like 5 out at once.
Yeah.
Like
when
I'm
just decision-making stuff that just comes from spending 100 hours playing the game.
That was one thing that I actually consciously planned to talk about, is when you see me fight that last... I forgot that you're not on lag, but when I fought that last enemy there and I took him out by like attack, special, attack, special, in this game, there's so much canceling that you should absolutely take advantage of. For instance, if you're using the sword, like the Zagreus sword that I have there, and this applies for later runs too, it's not just if you're doing a first run. If you're using the sword, you should almost never do all 3 hits of the attack.
I did that shit all the time.
Attack, special, attack, special. It cancels, it's way faster, it does more damage. And so like, it's like you said, I've played it a lot, so that's the kind of things I'm going to learn. But yeah, you shouldn't just do 3 hits of attack. Also, things can be canceled with dash. So like the fists, they do like 12 hits, I think, in their combo. But I would always get infinite hits for them, because when you get to 12, dash and then start a new chain. Don't just do 12 and then stand still. The fact that everything in this game can be canceled by either a dash or, you know, like a different attack or something should be something that you should take advantage of frequently if you're playing this game. It's like a mechanic that's built into the combat, and it's very useful. Anytime that I'm wailing on an enemy, you'll always see me do what I did there, which is attack, special.
Now, did you purposefully step on the button there to hit the enemy with the trap, or did you accidentally hit the button?
I don't know.
Lucky because the enemy was there.
So I wasn't like diligently. I wasn't like paying a ton of attention to the screen, but I definitely did that throughout the run. So I don't know if that specific example that you're referring to, I did it, but I definitely did that throughout the run.
It looked like you did, so I'm gonna say it was on purpose.
Yeah, the traps do a ton of damage relative to the enemy health. This is an example of that cast being busted.
Like just spawning and dying immediately.
To me, the Athena cast better than Athena dash, and this is why. Mind you, Athena dash is good, but you see how quick there I made that decision to go for health over money. When I play late game runs, I won't always do that. I'll go for money, because money can be boons from Charon, but in the first run, you need health, like your life depends on it. There you can see with that one skull that I had left, I hit him with an attack and then did the special. The attack was just to get him in hit stun because I wasn't sure if he was about to attack or not yet.
Right.
Hit stun is very important in this game too. Again, if you want to get really good at this game or you want to try like what I'm doing, like a first run, hit stun is very important in knowing when enemies are going to attack and making sure they don't get their attack out by putting them in hit stun, which is kind of just like beat 'em ups. So the deflect there. Go ahead.
I said just make me think of Streets of Rage.
Yeah.
Beat 'em up with the hit stuns.
Same thing with bosses too. In a game like Streets of Rage and in a game like Hades, suddenly those don't matter.
Yeah.
My techniques change on the bosses too. Like it doesn't like the I can't attack them to get them in hit stun because they don't get in hit stun ever.
Mm-hmm.
So that actually affects certain builds too. Certain weapons are really good, or certain builds are really good against regular enemies and then aren't as good against bosses. And you really notice that for anybody who's playing this game when you're in like Styx versus the Hades boss fight. They're like two very different encounters. I was gonna say it's like a different game. It's definitely not that drastic, but
yeah.
Fighting Styx where every single thing can get hit stunned and you're in a very confined area is different than fighting Hades who never gets hit stunned.
I want to see how like quickly you beat Meg. Do you take a hit against her?
Probably because I know there's a fountain right afterwards, so I probably try to deflect these and stuff and take a hit.
Oh, I gotcha.
Oftentimes when I was fighting Meg, I would take hits from her wizards. Just I wouldn't be paying attention to their bullets. Not even I wouldn't be paying attention. I would be paying attention, but wouldn't be able to accommodate. Like I would be trying to dodge Meg still too or something, you know?
Mm-hmm. Wizard is such a fun word. I don't know why.
This build ended up being a really interesting build because you'll see as I go, but I don't end up getting an attack or a special for a very long time. Like my attacks and specials aren't buffed right now.
Oh, really? Seems like they're doing a lot of damage too. Well,
my dash is doing damage, and then obviously my cast is doing damage. Like I'm deflecting these into her for damage, but no, my attacks are just doing. I mean, I'm canceling them like we talked about earlier. I'm more efficient than you would be with them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, they're just doing 50 damage for my special, which is the default amount.
Well, so far you're over half now, and you haven't taken a hit yet. So
I'm pretty sure I do.
You won't, but...
I don't know. Yeah. Okay. There you
go.
Was. That was me trying to dash to do damage to her. I was gonna say I don't remember for certain, but I don't think I beat her without taking that. Sometimes, and I don't know if this is a good tip or not, but sometimes when I was playing, not necessarily in the first run because you just want to beat Meg, maybe late in the first run, but her spawns give coins. Like that guy I just killed gave me 4 coins. So if you're not worried about her, you can farm money. Just a fun thing to know. Because her enemies that she sends out suck. They're easy to kill, especially if you're like not doing a first run and you have something that's just one-shotting them effortlessly.
Yeah.
Like a bow and arrow that can just one-shot.
So right now you're just like, I don't even care anymore. You're about to die each.
Yeah, I'm gonna get the health back. That's another thing that's interesting too, is using the dash strike with a lot of weapons makes a big difference. Like I like using the sword's dash strike a lot because like I said, the third hit for the sword combo is bad, but if you do the dash strike and then the first 2, that's 3 hits and then you get the special. So normally I do like attack special, but dash attack special is just a better version. The dash attack's a little hard to aim compared to some other ones because you just stab straight, so you can't like dash horizontal and then still hit the same enemy. Like you can with the fist, for instance.
You didn't even get full health.
74, yeah.
Yeah.
I buy a lot of health from Charon when you see it too, because the Charon health is very, very well priced. He's very reasonable priced.
He's got cheap burritos.
I don't know if they are burritos because he doesn't make health pop out and you pick it up. It just gives you health. I'm talking about the well specifically.
Oh.
Yeah, not like I get what you were saying when you go into like one of his rooms.
I don't even think they're burritos. Anyway, they're heroes, right?
I guess.
They're Greek.
I thought it was cute the first time that I was playing this game. Like, so it clicked in to me. And I mean like the first time, not like this first escape attempt thing. I mean like when I was early to the game. I just thought of all these characters as like fictional characters, which you know they are. They're mythological characters. See how I'm killing those guys with that deflect? That's so useful.
Yeah.
But it didn't register to me that they're like Greek mythology. So when Zag made it to Earth, I was like, I wonder where in the world he's gonna pop out at when he escapes Hades. What country is he gonna be in? And then when the game told me it was Greece, I was like, well, that does make sense.
I wish I could see how much money you have.
Oh yeah, well,
Your face is in the way.
I meant to say that before I started. I can mess with that.
Top right hand corner probably makes the most sense. That's just where the time is. Or like maybe middle, bottom.
Yeah, I didn't want to put it in the middle. That feels kind of weird. Moving it in the middle of the video is probably not the best idea, but it is what it is.
It's fine.
So yeah, I'll still be looking at the screen. Cool. Switch this back to here. Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that before we even did this. Like, where would be the best place to put? But look, that deflector thing there did 203. Brilliant Repost is just so fun to use. So that time I specifically did the last attack. I was gonna say this earlier. So I was like, oh, you should never use the last attack in the 3-hit combo. You should never use the last attack in the 3-hit combo if you're just going for DPS. If you just want damage. But it does have uses in that like it pushes enemies far away because it's like a thrust. So, you know, if you want to wall bounce or if you want to get somebody away from you, it has uses. Whenever I kill those guys, you'll always see me dash immediately afterwards because it'll deflect the bomb they put out when they die. I didn't think about the fact that I pick things so fast on the menu that I don't really get a chance to explain them when we're watching it. I mean, I could pause it, but there I just took one that buffed my defense because the Brilliant Repost is already doing a ton of damage. It didn't feel... The buff was big to it. It moved it from like 111 to 143 or something like that, but like it's not that significant. Whenever you have a good build where like you don't have things that feel unuseful or that you wouldn't want to buff, I always like when he gives the pomegranate slice that does a random thing because I don't care what you buff, I can accommodate accordingly.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think he buffed my dash, which is the one thing I wouldn't care about buffing. So it didn't work out in that case, but the dash would be
accommodate accordingly, except this one time.
Yeah, the dash would be an example of like a wasted slot when it comes to upgrading stuff. Obviously, it's obviously it's a useful dash, but it's a waste of an upgrade. That's something to consider when you get to Eurydice too. I won't get to her in this run because it's the first run; they don't show up.
Yeah.
That's the kind of things that you don't really think about until you're attempting a first run for yourself. Like you're gonna get no fountain rooms, no exclamation point rooms, no Eurydice, no Sisyphus, nothing. You won't get defiances back. You won't have any defiances. You know.
Oh wow, her cast like tracks the enemies.
Yeah, it homes. It's not a very strong home, but it does home. This is me thinking hard on this one.
Yeah, you're like, what do I want?
I knew I wasn't taking the middle one, but since it was a mini boss, because I think I would rather have what's her name's Artemis's attack or special, which I still didn't have at this point, an attack or special. But the fact that I already had Brilliant Repost meant that there was a chance to get Athena's legendary, which I had to go for.
You get.
I don't think I get it here, but that was still my thought process, presumably. See, like even this build, I was talking about how some builds are good for bosses and some builds are good for like just regular fodder enemy. My build that I have now is good for fodder enemy because the cast like kills them, and if it kills an enemy, you get the cast back. It's not good for bosses because if I throw my cast, I don't get it back. It just stays lodged in her. Yeah. Especially on a first run where you only get one cast.
I was literally just about to say that. Like I looked down, I was like, oh, you only have one.
Yeah, that's why I didn't throw it. But it's like throughout the run, it feels like I have more than one, and I've been throwing a ton the whole time, right? That's because I aim them at enemies that I know they'll kill. I even tried not to, if I remember correctly, I wasn't paying attention, but if I remember correctly, I tried not to aim it at the armored like guys who threw bombs when I was fighting the regular Asphodel enemies.
Oh, right.
I also confidently took this fight as opposed to the Centaur Heart because this boss is not hard. Tedious maybe, but not hard. So, I mean, I say that, but I've got hit a lot. But the hits are only doing 2 damage.
A ton of damage, yeah.
I got lucky there. The Magnum does hurt him, the Magma.
That's real cute, because he got frozen by Medusa too.
I love how the dash attack looks when it kills an enemy with the last hit. Obviously, yeah, I didn't get legendary here.
Thinking real hard though.
I don't know if I'm thinking or if I went and did something else. Yeah, okay. So I ended up not taking one of the attacks. Oh, yeah, so the thought process here, I didn't take one of the things that buff my attack or my special. And the thought process is, again, I don't need Blinding Flash to get Athena's legendary, but if I take Blinding Flash, that's one less thing that she can offer that's not her legendary. And you could say if you took Divine Strike or Flourish, that's one less thing too, but I could take anybody's attack or special and she won't offer her attack or special. So I was like, while I have Athena, let me take one of her, like, I think of them in my mind as like accessory boons. So if I take one of her accessory boons, I can take Ares' attack boon, and that's just limiting the things that she can sell me other than, limiting the things she can give me other than her legendary boon. The kind of things you got to think about on a run like this. Because, yeah, if I was playing a normal run, I probably would have took her special. That's pretty useful. I got Athena again. I don't know why they gave me so much Athena. I'm not mad at it, but I like these guys because they're like one of the least threatening enemies, especially if there's not something else around.
This like kind of enemy archetype is always easy in any game they're in.
Well, they tie in with what I said about it, what I like about about Bastion and Hades, where like they're difficult if they're combined with other things. They're not difficult by themselves. Obviously, I took a hit because I was trying to hurry up and kill him. You'll see me like always going for deflect because the Brilliant Repost makes it do a lot of damage. I was talking earlier about how you can cancel out of things, like attack, special.
Hey. You were just like, yup, mine.
Immediately. You see that orange? Immediate. I think I took that there. Yeah, because I have 56, so there's nothing he's going to be able to sell me that's better than a pomegranate. And even if there was, I wouldn't want to lose money that I could save up to get something better. But yeah, I was talking earlier about how it's useful to cancel everything, cancel into a dash, cancel into a special, whatever. That also includes cast. So sometimes you'll see me combo enemies and specifically end with the cast knowing it'll kill. Like, don't throw the cast until it kills.
That's one weird quirk about this game, and I guess it's just a quirk of how like the engine works of the game itself. Like your dash goes through walls and stuff, but it also like goes up levels. Like if there's stairs and you're avoiding the stairs.
Oh,
because it's all one flat surface in the engine. It just looks like you're going up because of how the art is.
Oh, I will say that the enhanced boss version of this is like, now that I'm seeing it with my eyes, it is like way smaller, the battlefield. But yeah, what you were just saying, I specifically did that because I knew I was recording myself and that people would see this, and I thought that was cool, and I didn't know if everybody had tried to do that before.
Yeah.
Like people may think they have to walk up the steps.
It's just a weird quirk of how the game works. It's interesting.
It's crazy when you're looking at it. I would imagine that you're looking to see like how I skillfully do things and that other people would be too. But for me, as somebody looking, I'm just noticing that there's like in the battlefield, the pillars that can block the things. 2 of them are like fired things, and then 2 of them are like whatever the heck they are.
Oh, I didn't notice that at all.
In my mind, they were all 4 just like the fire things.
This boss isn't hard for me necessarily, but it's definitely, this is the most annoying boss, I think, for me.
I can see that because,
so impatient.
Yeah, I was going to say also because he has so many phases where it's like fight him phase, fight them phase, fight him phase, fight. Most bosses don't have it. Even Theseus like pauses, but that's once. You know, same with Minotaur, pauses once at half health.
Because it's like, I want to just kill the main guy, and it's like, I do a third of his health really, really quickly, and then he gets invincible, and then I have to kill these 4 guys, and then do more damage to him. Oh,
that's another example of how much I liked Meg's Companion. I know this is a first run escape, and I want to talk about that. But how much I like Meg's Companion is she one-shots a third of his health. So his last form is harder than the middle 2. You may not think it if you're used to just like obliterating him, but when you play him at the beginning levels, like I was doing in this video, his 3rd form is noticeably harder. Even his 2nd form is hard with how fast he shoots these shots, especially when you only have 1 dash. But when you're late in the game and you have companions and stuff, Meg one-shots a third of his health. So as soon as his barrier disappears, he's dead.
Yeah, you just like, I'm done with this fight now.
To be fair,
Take him, Meg.
other things do that too. Aphrodite's fully charged call one-shots him. Artemis's fully charged call almost always one-shots him. It technically couldn't if it missed some crits, but yeah, he can be one-shotted. Well, one-third shotted by a lot of things. But yeah, having one dash makes a big difference here. Also, I just referenced 2 different calls that can one-shot him. You don't get a call in your first run.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because they get introduced later, so. I love that I reflected all 3 of those back in his face. You said that this battle is not necessarily the hardest boss battle. I will say that this boss battle can be more or less hard depending on the heads, the colors of them.
Yeah.
Like those ones shoot the beams, the green one shoots the little enemies. I actually put myself on blast. I didn't notice that they did different things for like my first however many runs when I was beginning this game. I paid 0 attention to the colors. I thought he just sometimes did this attack and sometimes did other attacks. Because the main head is different too. It's not different in the first run. Every first run, he's always the one that shoots the little beams. But yeah, the main head changes too. This is a good example. Obviously, I'm on the last phase of the multi-heads. But when I played against the multi-heads, you have to consciously pay attention to what they are. So like there's one that has a blue crest on it. Like that one has green. And the blue crest one, the only thing that it does is it does the head slam attack that the main head does. The one that does like area of effect damage.
Right.
So if you ever see a blue crest one, just a tip for anybody who's playing, disregard him and fight the other ones first, because he's not going to shoot a projectile at you. He's not going to add more enemies to the stage. He's not going to do any hazard unless you're near enough to get hit by him. So
wow, you're getting pretty low in health.
Like never target him first. Whereas like those guys that's shooting enemies, do target them, you know? Same with the ones that shoot the projectile. Yeah, this is a bit tense, wasn't it? Forgot about this. I guess it's kind of a spoiler that you know I'm going to beat the whole thing, but
yeah,
it's still kind of tense watching.
This is really low. Like,
and I just missed that cast.
Like, you don't have any defiances, and like you're only at 22 health now, and knowing that you get to 80s and beat him is crazy. Because you're not even in Elysium yet, and you're at less than a quarter health. Granted, I know you get health back after this, but
yeah, but even in the first run, so it's a lot of little things you don't notice. When you buy from the contractor, you buy something that makes you get more health at fountains. And I decide, as somebody who's played this game a lot, I definitely notice the difference in the health that I get on this first run attempt versus the health that I get in my game.
Right.
I think on this you get 20%. I think if you have 100 max health, which I have right now, so we'll see. I think it's going to put me to 42. Which isn't 20% is not a lot. I feel like on my other save file, I get like, I feel like whenever I beat a boss, I'm gonna be back at full health.
I never liked when you kill the Hydra. Like, there's not really an animation. It just looks unfinished. That's probably like my biggest complaint about like the presentation of this game is killing the Hydra. It's just a black screen. Like everybody else, they like fall into the underworld and that.
Yeah.
It just looks weird.
Because you don't kill it like.
I mean, I understand
organically. Yeah. This is just another example of like when it comes to health items, even when I'm on my late game runs, I don't love this one. The slain enemies have a chance to drop something. I much prefer the one that's like 10% every time you enter a chamber, or the ones that just straight up give you health. But when you're on a first run attempt, you're going to take any and every health you can get. So.
Yeah.
And now that you can see my cash, I don't have a lot. I mean, I have enough for that. Like I said, his health things are always reasonably priced, even into late game.
I know that you have like Discord up and streaming for me to like be in time with you, but the Twitch stream is so much higher quality.
Yeah, that makes sense. Discord specifically said like, do I want to prioritize like buffering, stuttering, or like quality? And I chose to not have it buffer or stutter. Whereas Twitch should be like 1080p.
Yeah, Twitch looks gorgeous, but like the Discord stream is like blocky and there's a bunch of compression artifacts and stuff.
It's crazy. I was talking to you like how long this video is, so you know, get prepared if you're gonna do this stream with me. But like, I feel like I'm already in Elysium. Didn't take very long. Although part of that is, well, A, the fact that we're talking about it, and B, the fact that I rambled so long about this game
Yeah.
before we did this.
Yeah, when we started this, like watching you do this, I was like, all right, we're on the home stretch of the stream.
Yeah, that's fair. I will say I was dissing that Charon item that gives you like the food for killing enemies, but it is good with these enemies because it counts when you kill them and when you kill that version. Those are two different enemies in the games. That's affected by other things as well. Like Ares has a boon that's like kill an enemy and your next attack does 100%. Both of those count as enemies in every context.
That's cool.
Dionysus is very useful in these runs for his health. All his accessory stuff is health related if it's not hangover related. So that's good. A lot of my close attempts, I try to use that gap because they can't cross it.
Right.
They're a very tough enemy to deal with, especially with the sword.
So much health.
I think they have the most health out of any enemy that's not a boss. But I was getting ready to say, especially with the sword, they're hard to deal with because close range like that.
Yeah.
It looks like I can keep them in hit stun, and I guess you can if you do it perfectly. But if you don't, they just only have to move an inch, and they move fast. So if you're close range and they get a chance to move, if you just slip up for a second, then they hit you for a lot of damage.
Oh man, it's gotta suck to get through 2 of them, and then they just spawn 2 more, and you're like, fuck.
It's crazy. With the amount that I've played this game, you kind of pick up. So if you didn't already know this, there can be enemy waves of 2 enemies or 3 enemies. Like 2 waves or 3 waves, I mean. And you kind of can tell after you play this game enough based on how hard the second wave is, if it's going to be 2 waves or 3 waves.
Yeah.
So like that was only a 2 wave. It was just those guys and then those guys plus I think they're called a splitter. The wizard that shoots and splits. That one, I obviously didn't take too long, but it was a bit of a hard decision because I attack more, but the special hangover is more hangover. Like the hangover was 6 for the special and only 4 for the attack, but I do 2 attacks for every 1 special. However, the special is also AoE, so I could get poison on like 3 different enemies at once with it, you know? Right. I got thankful that the trap killed that guy outright. I didn't touch him a single time. Traps do a lot of damage to enemies, which when I was playing this game like beforehand, like before I was trying to do this first run, when I was just playing the game regular on my other save file, I almost never used traps to attack enemies because I would just have a build that's so good that I could damage on myself. Yeah. I tried to push him into the arrow. It just didn't work. But on the first run, using traps, very important for anybody who wants to attempt this. It's a very, very important thing.
Now, the shield that you have around you that negates damage, it doesn't also deflect stuff, does it?
No, no.
I didn't think so.
It's just 1 hit. It saves you 1 hit, and then it takes 20 seconds to come back.
That's really good, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's a legendary.
I mean, yeah. I guess that makes sense.
There has been times. Well, I mean, yeah, there was other first run attempts. I was going to say there has been times where I've got that and not beat it. It's so, like, it kind of feels like a cheat code with how good it is, but it's 20 seconds is not short.
Yeah.
So, like, even when I was fighting Hades, if I lost while having the legendary boon, I was scared of the butterfly boss here, by the way. Because I did really want Artemis, an upgraded Artemis thing.
Yeah.
But the butterfly boss is very hard on the first run because you can't stop him from spawning stuff. Or if you do, then he puts out butterflies, and you only have melee damage, so you have to get close to him. But yeah, what was I saying? Oh yeah, I lost with the legendary before because like 20 seconds is a long time, and a lot of times when Hades hits you, he hits you because he has you like trapped in a corner or something.
And then he hits you again. Yeah.
Look, there's Zach logging on to play Hades. For anybody who is watching this video or hasn't checked out the stream too much, that's my other co-host. He's not here today, but Sticky signed on. He was also playing Hades, which was completely a coincidence. He didn't know I was making this video at the time. But yeah, having hangover makes me feel like I do 1,000,000 more damage.
Yeah, it really looks like it.
So
you do the special a lot, even if you say that like you do the attack a lot more, just because it's like it does damage over time. It doesn't matter that you're not doing the special super often.
So something else to consider here, I went to the shop room, and I don't know if I did this elsewhere in the run, but I know I did it in other attempts at this run. I went into the shop room. I had money to spend, sure, but I went into the shop room anyway because that counts as a room. Like, there's only so many rooms in Elysium, and there's never combat in there. So even if there was a good reward for the other room, I probably still would have went to the shop because I can't risk losing health on the way to Theseus. I did realize after playing first run attempts that you can get that boon that I just got where he gives me 20 health, but you never receive nectar in a first run other than that.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's just built into the game, so I won't. No room rewards will be a nectar, so I won't get another 20 health anywhere. So my decision was strictly, is 20 health better than those other two boons? And I was like, yes, I'll take the Minotaur Heart. Slightly less than a Minotaur Heart, actually.
Yeah.
Crazy for me to pass up health, but, you know, actually was good on health. So this is, again, me scared of the butterfly. I really wanted that Athena, but I was like, A, I already have the legendary, and B, I don't mess with butterflies. So sometimes you're forced to fight a boss room, and I was happy whenever it was the Minotaur, not only because it wasn't the butterfly, but because when you beat the Minotaur, he has less health in the final boss fight.
Yeah.
And that's convenient when you're trying to, like, I'd rather fight him one-on-one than have to fight him and dodge Theseus, you know?
Yeah.
Because, again, I've said this earlier in the stream, but I don't know how much will get cropped out for the video. I think that the enhanced version of Theseus from the Pact of Punishment is easier than the original version.
I lost everything. What is going on?
I can still hear you. So like I said, he's taking care of some technical difficulties. But yeah, this is a very heavy defense build for me. Obviously, the legendary is amazing. I wouldn't say it's a necessity to beat the game on a first run, but it is very helpful to beat the game on a first run. Gives you a lot of leeway, especially because when you get hit, you know, depending on like what the circumstances that you're in, you know that you can just kind of like run away. And depending on, again, what the enemies are, you could just hide or, you know, wait it out. And then the fact that you have the reflect on the cast, you have the reflect on the deflect. I meant not reflect. I guess both work. On the dash, very defensively sound build, but the damage is still a little low, which I think will be relevant when I fight Minotaur and Theseus, if I remember. But I don't know. It kind of fit with my playstyle. It wasn't bad. It forced me to focus a lot, like, because you knew that you couldn't just hit and do a lot of damage. And I think that kind of worked in my favor, because when you have a build that does a lot of damage, you think about like doing damage to overcompensate. Like, you're like, I can just kill him real quick. You know, I don't have to worry about dodging their attacks if I just hurry up and kill him. And then you get too excited, too gung-ho, and you try to kill them, and it kind of backfires. But yes, this is a very defensive build. Obviously, we are here in Elysium. So I mentioned earlier that I thought that like Theseus as well as the final boss fight, the boss fight against Hades, are both like skill checks. I kind of feel like when you're new to the game or you're doing a difficult Pact of Punishment attempt, I kind of feel like Elysium in and of itself is like a skill check too. It's like I don't know. It just feels drastically harder than like Tartarus and Asphodel. Once you kind of know how the game works and you have a grasp on the game, I don't know. I don't want to say effortless or like, oh, they're super easy, but yeah, they do kind of feel that, including their boss fights in a way. So I was just messaging Beaan. We're trying to get him back in here on the commentary, and then we're going to proceed with the video. But yeah, so once you kind of get a hang of the Tartarus enemies, they're like so slow and so manageable. And the Asphodel enemies are like gimmicky but not hard. The Elysium enemies are just kind of hard, including they have the guys that you can see on the screen. They have like the spears. They're kind of hard, but the enemy that has the sword was surprisingly the hardest for me to deal with, especially when you're using the sword yourself, because the sword enemies don't fall victim to hit stun the same way that the spear, the shield, and the bow and arrow guys do. The sword enemies have a like dash teleport thing that they do, kind of similar to yours. And they don't always teleport towards you or like in ways that make sense. But their teleport will come out when you think that you have them at hit stun. They can kind of act very fast. So they're the most difficult to deal with. The other ones can be, these guys have very long range, but they can be put in hit stun. The bow and arrow guys, of course, can have a projectile. I'm just gonna finish the thought I had started there. I was kind of just touching on the Elysium enemies, specifically these ones, the ones that like turn into little ghosts when they die. So the sword ones are the hardest for sure. The spear ones, they have range, but they can get stuck in hit stun. The bow and arrow ones have projectile, but they can get stuck in hit stun. The shield ones, I kind of got experience versing them. They're the second hardest because obviously they have the shields and they have projectiles. The sword guys also have projectiles that are better than the bow and arrow projectiles because they go through anything. Like they go through walls and stuff. Yeah. The shield guys have that as well, and the shield guys is kind of, it had less telegraph than I thought every time I encountered it. I had to like really learn to respect it. But once you realize that when you can dash through the shield guys, like go at them and they'll still attack the way you were going and you'll come out behind them and then you can get them in infinite hit stun from behind. If they have armor or if there's more than one of them, that can be a problem. You can't just sit there and wail on the one from behind. But what I was getting at was that the sword enemy, I'm going to go ahead and play the video while I'm finishing this thought. But the sword enemy that is like those, he's for sure the hardest because he cannot be trapped in hit stun, which was an interesting thing to learn. He's got like a dash that kind of looks like Zagreus' dash, like a teleport kind of thing. And when he does it kind of sporadic. He like teleports all around, not necessarily at you or even to an advantageous position for him. But he can do that always. Like you can't trap him in hit stun, at least not with the sword. I don't think you can with anything, even with the gloves. But yeah, he's definitely a problem. I upgraded my cast there. I really like the Athena cast. It's off the top of my head, not counting like crazy builds that specialize with making like a crazy Ares build or something, but just kind of like the bear cast itself. It's probably my favorite along with like Artemis. Artemis tracks better and has the crit chance. Athena's does more damage and it deflects obviously. It also scales really well. Like that was my second upgrade to it and it's at 200. And it started at like 112 I think or 111. So, you know, that was like 90 basically between two upgrades.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so these are all the spear guys. So again, like they have long range and you have to respect their range. You can't think if they're attacking you and you think you're out of range, you're probably not because they're attacking you. So you kind of have to respect that, but otherwise they're I think they're the slowest with their individual attacks other than like the bow and arrow guy, but he's got a projectile. Those guys having armor, the little ghost guys, that was a little troublesome. Not in this run specifically, but just in general.
Yeah.
On a first run, especially if you don't have a big damage dealer. There were some runs where I would have a good Doom build, and if you could do enough damage to them to get rid of the armor before the Doom activates, the Doom will kill them, you know, afterwards. So like if you had Doom on attack, and then you had like your special is buffed like percentage-wise, like maybe you have like Athena or Artemis, you could do your special and then put Doom on them and then run away and do something else. So it made like the butterfly fight, for instance, you know, doable. It's crazy how I have just Dionysus poison and it's blue rarity, which isn't that high, and it's not upgraded, and it just feels like I do so much damage now.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just added on to what you were already doing, so.
But I feel like on a normal run, whether it be like a first attempt run or even a late game run, when you get to Elysium, everything starts to have a lot more health.
Yeah, that's true.
But I felt like I was doing pretty darn good. I mean,
I don't know. Watching it, it still seems like everything has a lot more health than everything that precedes it.
I guess especially with the fact that I have the legendary shield, I can go into a group and fight with more confidence because if I get hit, it gives me time to run away and try to build it back if I want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saved the money. I knew, so when you get a certain amount of chambers in, for anybody who's not super familiar with this game, you'll know when you're at the final chamber, and the final chamber is a free room, even if you choose not to take the not to take the shop. So normally a shop is a free room, even if it's in the middle of an area. But the final room in an area is always a free room, whether it's a shop or whether it's an item. So I took the item because I'll still be able to spend the shop stuff later. I'll never get a free item again, you know? And now I have Ares, which it's very weak because Ares' Doom on his special is stronger than on his attack. And also, a lot of things are like that. The special version does more damage, or does more poison, or does more whatever. So by default, the special one is better, and also it's like common rarity. So it's like the weakest Doom I could possibly have is what I have. But again, same thing I was saying with Dionysus, it still feels like a drastic increase.
I mean, yeah, it's just more damage, so.
It also, more so than the Dionysus, because the Dionysus is good when you're like doing a combo that I do, like the attack special. It's good to lay it on multiple times because you were like, you know, I do it more times than I think. But it's not good so much for a hit and run. It's just not strong enough for that, the Dionysus. But the Doom is. Even when it's just 50, it feels good to just smack him and then, you know, get out of the way and let it do damage.
Yeah.
I will say, I'm not going to rewind it. I thought about doing it. But when I dodged the Minotaur back there, I dashed through. I'm waiting on the legendary to come back.
Like just watch them both walk towards you.
Yeah, so with these guys, they are hard, but once you know both of their patterns through and through, I'm not saying that they're like doable or that you'll never take a hit, but
Ring around the rosy, dude.
I'm not saying that they're doable or you'll never take a hit, but you know in certain areas where you're safe. Like neither of them could attack me through that thing from the angles on the screen that they were at, so I knew I could just chill. Same thing there. Obviously, once I get close, I have to accommodate, but I was proud of that deflect there.
It was cute.
What I was getting ready to say was with the Minotaur, when he's doing his charging attack, sometimes I'll dash directly through that pillar, the blue one specifically, and he won't hit it, like right there. He hit it the second time when I dash back, but like depending on the angle he's coming at you at, he won't hit the pillar, he'll go around it. And I got hit plenty of times because of that. Not necessarily in this run, just in general. The fact that my cast does 206, like whenever I see it, I like make a beeline for it. Let me get that back. I need to do a chunk of damage real quick.
Yeah.
I don't know how much health I came into this with, but I'm doing pretty good against them.
Yeah, I don't know if I remember you getting hit yet.
The thing with Theseus when you're fighting him, especially this first form, I've definitely got hit. I just got hit on my legendary thing.
Oh, that's fair.
But the thing with Theseus is that you want to do damage when you get the opportunities when he turns his back, but I got hit there too. But you don't want to do too much damage because you don't want him to go into boon mode while Minotaur's still out. So I'm trying to chip away with him so that the one-on-one fight with him isn't so long, so I have less room for error, but I'm also not trying to like deliberately attack him. Anybody who doesn't know, in this fight, I mean, if you're watching this, I assume you know how the fight goes. Theseus, you know, he gets buffed when he's at half health. The Minotaur did too, but the Minotaur's is less significant. He calls a boon. Theseus does. So you want to target the Minotaur first in this fight and make it a one-on-one with Theseus. He's less threatening one-on-one.
I don't think I've ever killed Theseus first.
I have with certain builds because Theseus has noticeably less health. So if you have certain builds that don't care about his shield, like the Artemis thing that sends an arrow out every time you land a hit, those arrows don't care about his shield. So like even if I'm wailing on the Minotaur, they're still doing damage to him. Or if I have something that like, there's a Dionysus one that'll have enemies spread poison onto other enemies, and it'll spread it onto him. So like, if you have ways to damage him disregarding his shield, he takes damage a lot worse than the Minotaur. Also, if you'll see, I hide behind the blue ones a lot more. They are significantly more reliable than the red ones if you're ever doing this fight. They're wider and they don't destroy. The red ones can destroy if he runs, I think? I was going to say can destroy if he runs into him. But I don't know what to call it, the hitbox on the red one, it isn't as wide even as it looks. So you'll be standing behind it and you can still get hit by his spear. So I don't trust the red ones if I can help it. I did note after enough practice against these guys that Zagreus' walking speed is enough to dodge his throw of his thing. So like sometimes it's better to just walk out of the way than to dash. I mean, I have the deflect on the dash, so I'm going to use the dash a lot. There's a hit 2 hits,
Yeah,
3
I think
hits.
it mostly also just depends on how you put a lot of damage and how far away you are from it.
Yeah, I should say that. So like close to max range, if you just walk perpendicular to his throw, it won't hit you. Which is better because like the dash has a pause in between, you know, before it reloads. So you will notice as I'm fighting Theseus that I'm almost always trying to walk perpendicular to his throw, you know.
Yeah. You kind of have to, otherwise you just eat damage.
Well, I know when I was new to this game, when I first started playing it, I would just try to pay attention to when like his sights were on me, like it has the scope or whatever on you, and then I would try to like get far away or get behind something. But like it's more important to be, we were just talking about distance, but it's more important to be going perpendicular than it is to be separating yourself from him.
I'd imagine especially when you're one-on-one with him, because if you're far away, you're not going to be able to get to him in time to do enough damage.
Yeah, so I was just talking about how you can walk perpendicular to him, and like your walking speed will avoid the javelin or whatever it is, spear. But I definitely wasn't about to worry about doing that in this. I was like, I'm going to take the safe route. The problem is when you're hiding behind, he has to see you in order to prepare to aim his thing. He won't aim it when you're behind that. So you'll see me like get behind those and then peek around the corner to wait for him to aim and then get behind it. Using Athena's cast was a little difficult on him too because it can be blocked by the shield, whereas Artemis's can't. Ares can't either. Dionysus, I don't know. I don't like. So there wasn't many things that I avoided specifically. I would try to choose the best things. The one thing that I did avoid on first run attempts was Dionysus cast.
Blade Rift can't get blocked?
Blade Rift can't get blocked, period. Not even just by him. That's one of my favorite things about Blade Rift is that it just destroys the shield guys. Because I guess it's like hitting underfoot would be the logic. But yeah, no, he can't block it. Shield guys can't block it. I think those are the only 2 things that block anything. But yeah, it's unblockable.
Yeah, it's just those guys.
Oh, I guess another thing is like, I mean, this is kind of obvious, but you know, like wizards can't fly over it, whereas they can fly over like traps. You can't get a wizard to fall into a trap, like the spikes on the floor.
Yeah.
So he got the Artemis cast here. I think he gets that. Well, he gets that more than any other one. So like if you have Artemis and you don't have somebody else, he might get somebody else. But he gets Artemis by default, I feel like, is how it's programmed. And I like that because hers is really easy to avoid.
Yeah, seems like it's just a square of spears in the center.
Yeah, it's in the center, and I don't want to be in the center to begin with, you know?
Yeah.
Having, I was talking about how good Athena's cast is, as opposed to her dash. Athena's special on the sword is very good too, because it hits area of effect, so like when wizards are doing like spreading attacks, or if there's an attack coming at you, you don't have to be like right where it's going to hit to deflect it. Whereas with the dash, you do have to dash your physical self onto it, you know?
Yeah.
I'd imagine it's the same way for the stream, but I feel like you're a little quieter than you were before.
I mean, I had turned my volume down all the way.
It's not like terrible.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay.
I specifically went up there and swung my sword once. For anybody who didn't know, I'm just gonna backtrack real quick. For anybody who doesn't know, Zagreus has a fan in this. That's my fan. He wears red and he's holding like his sign is the Zagreus face.
It's weird that you have a fan on the first time you ever.
That fan's always there. Zag won't. He won't say anything though. Unfortunately, on the force time, he won't say anything on the force time. But like he almost always had a line of dialogue later in the game. He'll be like, "I did it for you, my fan."
You'd think that he'd get more fans later in the game.
No, he's just got his one diehard. That one I like, the 10% per chamber.
Yeah.
Should come in useful.
Which I guess would be 17 in my case. One thing that I didn't notice until late is that the clock's not moving right here, and the clock's not moving when you're in these like walkways from one area to the next. So the first time that I showed you my like new high score, like my new best time, I was zipping through everything thinking that you had to. Like I was like this area that I'm about to be in right now, I was like speed dashing through it as fast as I could. I was using Gilgamesh, so I had the extra dashes and everything.
Oh.
And it doesn't matter. It does matter here after you talk to Cerberus. Like you can't casually go over to Charon's shop and look at everything. If you were doing a speed run, I'm not doing a speed run. Oh, that was one of the things that I wanted to touch on that I forgot to bring up is speed running versus like difficulty challenges. I always say that I'm not like a speed running guy. I've said this on stream many times for many different games. Speed running's never really appealed to me. But with games I can often be interested in like different kind of difficulty challenges, which is what I feel this is. Like a first run attempt, it changes the dynamics. It's not a speed run thing, you know? It's like mastery, but in a different kind of way. Like, admittedly, speedrunning is also kind of a difficulty challenge.
I was about to say, like, speedrunning, like, inherently changes the dynamic of the game.
Like, that is a difficulty challenge as well, which, you know, makes sense for it being on the Pact of Punishment. But it's just, I don't know, it's just not one that appeals to me. I like things like this.
Yeah.
Because I guess speedrunning changes that dynamic, sure. But, like, what you have to do... So... let me just open by saying that I admit that speedrunning is a difficulty challenge and that like I'm just phrasing from my perspective. But like speedrunning, the solution is you have to do it as fast as possible. But like this, for instance, I have to beat it, but I can beat it any way I want. You know? Mm-hmm. Like I could do what I did against Theseus and take forever behind the thing, or I could, you know, try to perfectly fight him, like optimally fight him and, you know, dodge his attacks up close and land a million hits. I could try to kill an enemy so fast that it doesn't get a hit in, or I could, you know, pick away at it. And I just feel like it adds more personal variety, not just... Like if you're watching somebody speed run and they do something and it, you know, it's faster than the way you did it, then you're just going to do that and try to perfect it, you know?
Yeah, plus a lot of speedrunning is like perfecting like the tiniest bit of minutia in your movements and stuff, you know?
So, and that is, yeah, that is part of the reason that it doesn't appeal to me. I'm very careful with these guys because of the poison, if you can't tell.
Yeah.
I hate how much poison they spew. It covers the map.
Wallow in your own filth. Don't bring it over here.
Yeah, I wish it hurt them. But yeah, so like speedrunning, like you said, it's like, I would hate to like make a tiny mistake early on, especially if I'm like an amateur speedrunning. It's not something I do for a living, and like not really know that that was the mistake until later on in a run or something. I don't know. In this, like getting hit would suck for me personally, you know, it would cost me. But like it's not the end of anything, right? Whereas if you make a mistake in a speed run, if they've been optimized to that point, it could be the end. I mean, I guess you could say the same about this if I was trying to make the challenge, like beat the game on the first run without taking a single hit. It would be over as soon as I took a hit, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's also like what I'm doing right here is, you know, PvE, which I guess if you were speedrunning against your own time, it would be too, if you're just trying to do a personal best. But like, you know, speedrunning as a thing is you competing against other people's speedrun times. And for me, this is just, did I accomplish this or did I not accomplish this, you know?
Well, I mean, I guess so, but I feel like speedrunning is actually more cooperative than anything else. Because it's not ever like, you know, one guy's strategies to beat the speedrunning. No, it's a community of people that have been working towards figuring out every specific minutia thing to do the specific fastest thing.
I guess it kind of reminds me of like, I feel like it could go both ways though. Like, you know, maybe you just do want to, I mean, whether you want to or not, people can still copy what you're doing, even if you know, weren't trying to be productive to the community. But like ultimately one guy has the record, right? So if you want to be the best, you are competing against him.
Well, I mean, sure, but you're competing against him in doing the strategies that the entire community has figured out.
Oh, I am
like,
so glad I didn't take damage from that.
Oh yeah, dude.
Those things scared the life out of me when I was on. I was talking so much smack about how if you're good, you shouldn't get hit by trap. But on the heightened security thing that I said, where traps do like plus 500% damage, those things one-shot you.
Oh shit.
Because they do a lot of damage by default. I think they do like 50. So like
Yeah.
plus 400%, that's, you know, 250. How often do you have more than 250 health, you know? But that's not related to this run. But yeah, I don't know. Speed running ultimately just isn't for me. But I definitely like different kind of like challenges and difficulty things like this, which I guess is cool because, you know, it's especially with the Pact of Punishment. Like I said, it's something that you can customize, which is a cool feature of this game.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, I understand not being into the speed running because a lot of times speed runs are like, they end up making the game as boring as possible.
This was also me making a conscious decision. So I went for the health first, for sure. I had to get the health. That
Yeah.
wasn't even a question. But here, it's like, do you want to do a mini boss when you're on a first run attempt? But like a boosted Ares would be nice.
Yeah.
I was thinking that like boons are almost always the best thing, right? Boons are better than palms. Boons are better than cash. Boons are better than everything except like health if you need health. But here, I didn't go for Dionysus because his boons that I could still get, because I'm not going to get his attack or his special or his caster or his dash, because I have all those. I mean, you could, like, where they replace the other one. I wouldn't want to do that with him specifically anyway. But his, like, accessory boons aren't useful specifically in the situation I'm currently at. Like, he has one that fills your health if it's low at the end of an encounter, but, like, if I'm going to complete this first run attempt, I don't want to go into Hades with 40% health anyway. It has like a minimum threshold. It'll fill you back up to 40 or fill you back up to 50 or whatever. That's not too useful. It has the fountain one, but I'm only going to get one more fountain. So I just kind of knew his accessories weren't going to help at this point in the run. I still do think that boons are generally better. And then I didn't want to do a boss fight, so I took the palm. I think this is interesting. This is kind of an aside. It's not relevant specifically to the Styx part that I'm at here. But these guys were kind of hard on first run attempts. Them and the satyrs that throw poison.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, Zypher? I think I mentioned this to you a while back, but this was the special video I was talking about. I'm not actively playing right now. I'm actually commentating over me doing a fresh save file run of Hades. So this is a fresh save file, beating the game on the first attempt, first escape, beating the whole game. And this is a recording. We're just me and my friend Beaan are talking over it. But yeah, it's something different I was looking to do for my stream. I was real excited about. I don't remember what I was saying before.
Same.
Oh yeah, I was saying that these guys and then the guys that spit poison are the hardest enemies in this area because these ones with the two that they do, it just does it so fast, and especially when they're armored, they're particularly difficult because you can't lock them in. And with the sword has a hard time hitting a group of enemies that separate, like how that one kind of kicked off to the left there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really annoying with those because they don't wait very long before they shoot. There's not a big gap. So when you get to a last room and they're there, they're particularly difficult. I was waiting for my legendary to come back. I thought it came back between rooms.
Like, I really want to drink.
I was pretty confident it comes back between rooms, but I was like, you know, let's make certain. I don't want to risk it. Thanks, Zypher. I thought this was a good idea, especially since my stream is often me first time playing things. So I figured this is a game that I play all the time. It won't be on the stream, you know. This is more of an accomplishment stream. And hopefully it'll make for a good video. I can see if I can chop it up, make a YouTube video out of it. These guys aren't particularly difficult with the sword. It's just that it's slow going if you want to play it safe like I am. Kind of like how I was safe against Theseus. It's the same thing here. There's better techniques to like get rid of them pretty quickly, take care of them, but they're not a threat if you want to play it safe. One thing that I thought was interesting, so on the first run, as you see, I have one of each. No, I don't think I have an Artemis one actually. But yeah, the first 4, you can only get 4 gods boons on the first ever attempt, and that's Artemis, Athena, Ares, and Dionysus. There's the only 4 that'll ever show up. And I just think it's crazy that Ares is one of them. And Beaan knows he had this game before I did, and I didn't want him to spoil things I hadn't seen yet. And he accidentally told me Ares was in the game when I didn't know yet. Because I didn't see Ares till I was on like my 10th or 11th escape attempt when I was first playing this game. Maybe even more than that. And he's one of the 4 that can show up on the first run. Yeah, Zypher, it'd be really cool if you, I know you caught the end of the stream, but you know, if you want to check out the video when that comes out, or obviously the VOD. Yeah, we did a lot of talking about this game. Some of it's advice for like, you know, people that are playing. Some of it's just kind of like cool, neat facts. But yeah, I love the heck out of this game. So I specifically asked Beaan to be on here with me because, you know, it's good to have somebody to bounce ideas off of, and he's played the game as well, but I actually had no problem talking the whole time with this. So
You were like, I love this game. I cannot stop.
especially since, like I said, you know, I'm not going to have another opportunity to talk about it on stream. I mean, I could, like, reference it for sure, but, like, actively talking about it. These rooms, so in hindsight, I'm not going to say that I wish I took the mini boss because I could easily get screwed over by them too. But these rooms are pretty hard on a first run. Just the type of enemies they throw at you, even the little guys just coming out of the woodworks, out of the ground.
Man,
I
I just hate all the poison everywhere. I never like managed to avoid it consistently.
I was so glad on this to see that Doom. Like the other two, I don't give a heck about. But that Doom, I'll take 30 extra every
that's
single
a
attack
lot.
I land, you know? Doom was always interesting for me, like, if I got Ares earlier in a run, I think that was the last main attack thing I got in this run. But if you get Ares earlier in a run, it's always an interesting decision to go for the attack or the special for the Doom. Because like I said, the special does more, but the attack is so easy to hit with the sword. It's so fast that you can just, like, some of my closest runs against Hades that I didn't beat him on the first attempt was me having Doom on, like, my attack or something and just doing a dash attack with Doom, and it does like 150 or something, and then just running away. So obviously it didn't get too strong on this one because we're this late in the run and I just got it and then just buffed it once. But it's so convenient to have on the sword when you just swing it real quick. The special does more damage and can hit a group of enemies, but especially against Hades, having the one is very useful. These guys are a little tough to deal with the sword. I don't know if I get hit here or not. I don't think so. But if you're playing this game and you're not doing a first run challenge, there's a lot of good boons that just effectively, if you see them in your run, you can get them, and they just kind of invalidate. Well, I wasn't even talking about the room, specifically that enemy. Like, invalidate the mice. The mice, I think, have the single lowest health out of any enemy in the whole game, including the skulls in the beginning.
Oh, wow.
I don't think I've ever seen a single attack that doesn't one-shot the mice. Like, even just the little arrows that Artemis will send out. But there was one specifically that I was thinking of. Aphrodite. Aphrodite has a boon that when you kill an enemy, that enemy explodes and does damage to people around it, inflicting weak. And the damage isn't a lot. It's like 40 by default, I think, at its weakest level.
Right.
But that's so good against them. You kill one mouse and it just kills 5 other mice. Cypher, you've never been to this area? I don't know how much you've played the game. So this is definitely late game. You know, if you don't want spoilers, obviously, this is spoilers. But this is the last area before the final boss. It's an interesting area. It's kind of like I've described how the game has like skill checks, but also has build checks as being two different things. I wouldn't say the area is a skill check, but it is a build check because it can be very hard on certain builds.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I remember when I was early in playing this game, I used to think that bottom one was so good because I read the words and not the numbers. Like, your Doom effects deal more damage when applied multiple times. So I was thinking, like, if it deals 100, then it deals 112. Is that what it's saying? Like doing 212 total if you apply it twice? That's not the case. If you apply Doom twice on an enemy with that one and your Doom does 100, you'll just do 112,
Another 12.
period. Yeah. That's so not worth it to me. I mean, if there's nothing else, it's not the worst thing in the world. The middle one on a first run attempt, obviously I didn't want to take because I don't want to get hit, and 140 is not a lot of damage relative to the final boss's health. This is not a spoiler-free thing, so, you know, if you don't want spoilers or anything, unfortunately don't stick around. The final boss is your dad. It is Hades. So relative to the damage that Hades does to you, the middle one's not good. Although Epic is, you know, it's pretty cool. So I did take the top one. I do like the top one when you have a good hangover build. The top one goes really, really well with Dionysus' call. You don't get a call in your first run, but with his call, because the call does like crazy high poison damage, and to get it to affect more frequently, it's very good for that. I think I do still end up taking it because it's just a passive that'll help me without having to get hit, and the bottom one just not being that strong. But not the best roll, but not the worst roll there. But, you know, it's still useful for the Hades fight. Zypher, you said furthest you got is the Minotaur fight. I imagine you're still relatively new to the game, like first however many runs. We were talking about that earlier. The Minotaur fight, well, I'm assuming you're referring to the one with him and Theseus, because you can fight him alone as a mini-boss, or you can fight him as the final boss of Elysium, where he's with Theseus. If he's with Theseus and that's what you're referring to, we were definitely talking about that earlier as being one of the big skill checks in the game. There's like 2 skill checks in the game, and that's one of them. If it's just the Minotaur fight, if you just fought him alone in a small room, then like he's kind of hard if you're new to the game. But
God. Remember how easy Styx felt after beating Theseus and the Minotaur for the first time?
yeah, him and Theseus. Yeah, so him and Theseus is one of the 2 big skill checks in the game. The other skill check being the final boss fight, which you're going to see here in a moment. Like I said, is against your dad. It's against Hades. Those are the 2 skill checks in the game as far as I'm concerned. There's other things, like I said, that I would call like build checks, or that are just kind of difficulty increases where it kind of ramps up, you know? But there's still kind of a natural ramp up. These I would consider the 2 big skill checks are the Theseus fight and the final fight that I'm about to fight now. I think I paused here for a while because I was like prepping myself to fight my dad.
Typing yourself up.
I keep minimizing it. I don't mean to be minimizing it, but I gotta like click into the video. Is it okay? It's playing now. I gotta click into the video so that I can use my keyboard to like fast forward and stuff, as opposed to being like clicked onto my Twitch stream or whatever. And then I just click twice and it minimizes it. I think. Okay. Yeah.
All right, boy. I got your favorite treat.
Nah, that's fair, Zypher. I appreciate you stopping by. But yeah, I love the heck out of this game. Hopefully you can enjoy watching this video back some other time and after you've got a little further. But this game is wonderful, and I have a ton of good things to say about it if you ever want to check out this video. Do I pause again before? Yes. Like how he says I did it. Like, even that's torturous for somebody attempting this run. Like, Zag, you did not do it yet. No, sir. Man, I don't even know where to start with this fight. I don't know if I let the voice lines rock for a little bit because there's a unique dialogue here. It's a very minor change. But, I mean, I can pause it and just show the words on the screen. So I don't know if I let it rock or not.
You know you're right.
Okay, yeah. I do not let it rock. So Zagreus has a unique line of dialogue here. Oh, I think they talk more. Yeah, so late game, when you beat it multiple times, when you're at like the very end, they'll only exchange. Zag will say something, Dad will say something, and then Zag will say something. It's like only 3 lines of dialogue. Not lines, but you know what I mean. 3 screens of dialogue. So that's why I wasn't expecting to be more here. But this is the line I was referring to. I might let it rock. I don't remember. But the 3rd sentence there where he says, mustered a bunch of incompetent wretches to try and kill me.
Yeah.
When you get to Hades and you don't do it on the first run, he says, mustered your wretches that killed me time and time again, or something like that. Like, he talks about how he's been repeatedly killed.
Oh, so it just changes how it doesn't say that he's been killed over.
Yeah, because he hasn't been killed over. So he says, he calls them incompetent. He doesn't call them incompetent before because they killed him.
Yeah.
So it's like a very, very minor change. It probably took like 2 seconds for them to record. But it makes me feel good to see it on the screen knowing I got to it. I love it too. It was my Thursday stream game. Yeah, I mean, I'd imagine it's a good stream game. I mean, I played the heck out of it before I ever got into streaming, so it wasn't an option for me. But I wouldn't be mad if you brought it back as your Thursday stream game. I would stop in. I mean, I would probably stop in regardless. But, you know, yeah, I love this game. I love it too. Let's watch me fight my dad. I did not let that vocals rock at all. So anybody who's not, I'm going to try not to mess with like rewinding and pausing and doing whatever too much. But anybody who's not familiar with this fight or who just wants a general tip for fighting Hades, you know, who plans to play this game and isn't afraid of spoilers, and so they're watching this video, always open. For me, it's usually cast. If you're further in the game and you have a companion, I always would open with Meg companion or whatever your companion is, and then throw your strongest attack. So if it's your cast, like it is here for me, throw your cast. If you have the spear and your special is the strongest, throw your spear. He always stands there for at least a split second, and usually he stands still after he gets rid of his cape. If you do a lot of damage, like I would do with the Meg companion, he stands still long enough and then just disappears. So he's not really a threat. He's going to come at me here, and if you don't do enough damage, he will come at you in general. But basically, absolutely get your hits in right at the start. He doesn't act instantaneously, and even if he does act, he's gotta like get over to you. Yeah. So I just threw my cast there because this is a first run attempt, and I don't have some stack build. But another thing with him is when he does his big, I'm gonna kite him a lot. I'm gonna run away a lot. When he does his big circle swing, he has more in lag than when he does his regular swipe. So like when he does that, he has less in lag. It doesn't mean you can't hit him, but you're gonna see me play it safe a lot. I don't know how much it happens in this fight against him, but in my fights against him going for first run attempts, it was oftentimes a huge dilemma whether or not to try and kill the skulls, because they are very problematic when they go off, especially when he shoots more of them.
Yeah.
But when you're on a first run attempt, you don't have enough strength to take them out. Like I landed both my Doom and my Poison there, and it didn't kill it. When he goes invisible like that, he gets rid of any effects on him, including Doom, including Poison. So that is part of the reason why a Doom build is a lot better than a Poison build, because Poison has to go over like 5 seconds or however long to do all its damage, and Doom doesn't. I mean, yeah, you could argue like, oh, but Poison could get some hits in and Doom get 0 in, but I'm saying the Doom is better. See, there was a case of like, you can see how quickly he attacked again afterwards. I still managed to get a hit in, but I will say, again, to anybody who's using the sword build, whether it's like a first, there's 3 skulls. Thankfully, I killed one of the skulls by deflecting the other skull.
Yeah.
Thinking about the skull position is also important there. Like, I purposely got close to one and then dashed into it so that I didn't have to worry about it. Usually, you want to be far away because you don't want to be dashing into it and then be inside the circle and then Hades is coming at you. So you're limited in where you can escape. Yeah.
He gets me so often with his circle attack.
Obviously, whenever I see the cast come out of him, I'm going to throw that immediately. For anybody who's further into the game and is still working to beat Hades, Artemis has a boon, and I'm not here to recommend specific builds or tell you how to set it up, but if you see it, Artemis has a boon that makes you take damage when your thing is dislodged, and that's pretty effective against Hades. I really wish that would have killed them.
Man, you weren't kidding when you told me that this was just a battle of attrition.
Yeah. It takes so much focus to not slip up and like to not get trapped in a corner, and he hasn't even put minions out yet. So this is the easy part.
Yeah.
The minions that he summons make a huge difference. Like, I know that seems like an obvious thing to say, but like it's kind of drastic. It almost feels like, I would almost call it, I can't believe I didn't get hit there. I would almost call it bad RNG with like how much harder some of them are compared to others. I don't think they tried to make it that way, but it is that way. Like enemies that have projectiles, or if he summons anybody from Elysium who can revive, I got hit there, I lost my legendary thing. If he summons anybody from Elysium, like the soldiers who can revive themselves, that's a nightmare, because if you kill them and they revive themselves, that's the worst. And you can't focus on not letting them revive themselves like you would in Elysium, because you're fighting Hades, you know?
Yeah.
You have to account for what he's doing first and foremost. Something I meant to say earlier, Brilliant Repost is also good against Hades, because you can reflect his skulls and they do a solid chunk of damage to him. I haven't been paying attention. I've done it a few times. I haven't been paying attention to damage, but I'm pretty sure it's at least over 100, maybe somewhere between 100 and 200.
Yeah, I haven't been looking.
Just for reflecting his thing. Yeah, so this was a bad... He gave me 2 Elysium soldiers, both with projectiles. So the sword guys often attack in Elysium with their sword, but the versions that Hades summon are different. Like with the bow and arrow guy, he shoots like 10 shots in a row.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
dude.
does.
That's more than even so I don't know if you know, but regular enemies and their armor versions aren't the same. They're not just an armored version with more health and
I
armor.
didn't know that. Never noticed.
They have different patterns. So like the shield guy, for instance, he has an attack where he like dashes forward with a shield and then does like a spin. But that's only the armor version. The unarmored version of him just dashes forward and doesn't do a spin. Then the Hades minion summons are like a third version of the character. These are even different than the armored Elysium versions. So I used my cast on him, which, you know, ideally you only ever want to use your cast on Hades because it does so much damage, but I had to get rid of that guy. Especially since I would get it back.
Yeah, I mean, he died, so it's not like he wasted time.
As you can see, thankfully, like my strategy for first stage Hades is to kite him and just, I'm assuming you know what that means. Or the people that are watching the stream know what that means.
I'm assuming it just means keeping him far away.
No, kiting is like when you walk with the kite follows you. It's to get him to follow your path away from you. That got me. So I want to point that out for anybody who doesn't know. This got me well into my playing of Hades. Not just like my first run attempts or not just my first actual runs. This skull explodes and it doesn't do a green wave on the ground. Usually they do a green wave on the ground, but they don't always do a green wave on the ground. Sometimes they do this, which is like a rumble effect on the ground. And it's so much harder to see. You can see it now. It's I can't point at the screen, but it's like from that tree, it goes by where Hades is standing.
Yeah, I see it.
When he wakes up from his second form, he'll do one of the two. Either he'll do like the ring or he'll do the earthquake ring. Those are so much harder to see, and I felt so upset when I would like die because I got hit by them. I got hit by it there. I just straight up didn't see it. So eventually, like obviously I beat it this time, but when I was playing this time, I was making a deliberate effort to like look at the skulls, not react to seeing the ring on the ground, but watch them explode and see what they do. Obviously I got hit that time, so it didn't work, but just saying. Yeah, kiting is when you make a group of enemies. You'll see it a lot of times in like games like Gungeon, for instance. I know that's just another roguelike, but Hades characters have more elaborate patterns, I feel like, where you just make a group of enemies follow you around. Next Machina, that other twin stick that I love, that's a great example where you literally just have a crowd just following you and you're just shooting behind you as you run away. That's kiting, and that's what I'm getting Hades to do. I'm literally making him follow me. And you'll specifically notice that I'm going around those two pillars, and sometimes I figure eight through those pillars. And you got to pay attention where he'll change his route to chase me. Like he'll try to cut me off a little bit, like cutting somebody off in cage fighting. And I'll take a wider angle around the pillar because I want to make sure he goes around the pillar because he can't go through it. He even gets hung up on the pillar. Sometimes you see like that when he's like trying to do a spin attack so he doesn't go as far.
Yeah.
So I don't just go behind the pillar to protect myself. I go wide angles around the pillar so he has to go around it to chase me. But the reason I mentioned kiting earlier is because I was going to say my strategy against Hades has been to kite him the whole battle and only get in attacks when I can. Thankfully, the strategy against the bow and arrow guy is to constantly move in like around. It's not to kite him because he doesn't follow you, which is why this is different than like Nex Machina. But it's like I was doing with Theseus earlier. It's like going around the perimeter in a circular motion. So the bow and arrow guy wasn't a big threat this run, thankfully. I mean, he is still not somebody you want to see appear. I'm not making it sound like he's easy because I did it. It just worked out well. I mean, even this battle, I've been playing so careful and like war of attrition, like you say. And it feels like I've been handling him well. I feel like if you're watching this fight, like if you're watching like an MMA fight, there's another earthquake one. Hit me. If you yeah, it came from the skull on the left, the one that has a one-timer, and there it is on the ground. But if you're watching this like an MMA fight, because I love MMA for anybody who doesn't know, I don't talk about it too much on stream because I talk about video games. But if you're watching this like an MMA fight, you'd be like, Zagreus is dominating the fight. Like he's winning most of the time that the fight's active. You know, if it's 10 minutes, he's winning 9 minutes of it. But like, with all that said, he's barely over halfway of his first health bar, and he's already done 60 damage to me, you know? Like, it doesn't sound like a lot because I still have 164, but that's a lot. That's a lot of damage.
Are you saying you're Todd Duffy? Or no, wait, hold on. Yeah, you're Todd Duffy and he's Mike Rousseau.
Oh, I'm so glad you remember that. Yes, that's what I'm saying. And I said that he's almost halfway over his first bar, and obviously first form is supposed to be the harder form. I could, you know, give my opinion on whether I think it is or not, but, you know, clearly it's supposed to be. But not only that, I'm over halfway of his health, but I'm only his first wave of minions. I handled the first wave well, and it went well, but, like, it doesn't feel like I'm at a big benchmark yet because I know he still has a second wave of minions coming. And I've already took 60 damage. So to me, I'm only through, like, the first part. The first minions is, like, the first part of this fight. And I'm already took 60 damage. So it's good that I have a lot of health and that I have the legendary boon. If I didn't have that legendary boon, I would have taken way more than 60 already. And again, I feel like I'm doing good against him.
Yeah.
And that's the case. So as much as I'm like, oh, just kite him, or like, just use your cast or get a free hit in when you know you can when he does a big. Don't take that to mean this is easy if you just follow this advice. He is still not an easy fight. He has distinct advantages. I don't even mean like he's a boss and he's good so he has advantage. I mean like he's just outright faster than you, for instance, Like he just has like attribute advantages if you look at it that way. I don't know if he is literally faster than you, but he's faster than the average enemy that you have kiting you. I feel like he's been out of third health for forever, but he's not out of third until he summons the second menu wave.
Watching his health bar is like more agonizing than watching.
I don't know if you stepped away from your mic, but you were real quiet when you said that.
I did, sorry.
I mean, I still heard you, so presumably, stream can still hear you. So again, another bow and arrow guy, so bad roll of the dice there. He even just hit me once. And then that guy's not great either. He's not the worst. Well, no, he is the worst. Screw it. He's bad. He's not actually the worst. Obviously, like I said, that's the Elysium enemies. But he is in a, if we were ranking like the worst summons to get against Hades, he's not in a tier that you want. He's in you got a bad roll. I got hit there too. I had just got my legendary back too, so that was a bit upsetting. So it's been a little while since this recording, since like me and Beaan are talking about it now, but it's been a little while since I actually did it. Obviously, anybody who follows the stream, I took a hit because I wanted to get rid of the.
Yeah.
I took a hit because I wanted to get rid of the little ghost guy. Anybody who follows the stream knows that I was like very badly sick recently, and I missed a lot of time, and I wasn't able to stream. So I did this before that, or maybe during it, maybe like while I was sick.
No, I think it was before.
But yeah, the point is I did this a while ago, so I don't remember all my exact thoughts in the moment. So sometimes I am kind of theorizing what I was thinking, but some things I do remember. Actually, I want to look at that real quick. With the brilliant repost, it does 172 every time I reflected them. If you think about how much damage my attacks are doing, that's a good amount,
Yeah.
That's like better than anything other than my cast. This attack that he does right here got me a lot until I got the hang of it. He shoots a skull up and he shoots a skull down, and then he does his standard attack, not his spinny, but like his stab attack. And the reason that it used to get me, and for anybody else who's trying to either do a first run or just beat Hades for the first time, if you're just playing this game, the reason that it got me and the reason it may get you is because he does those attacks. He does the stabbing attack and he does the shooting skulls at you a lot. So when he did that, I was like, he missed. Let me capitalize.
Yeah.
But no, he doesn't aim at you. He does them up and down, not up literally, like he could also do them left and right, He's not going in a specific, he does them like perpendicular to where you are. So like as opposed to, compared to you, he does them left and right, to his left and right. And then he attacks at you. So if you see him shooting skulls and they're just like not towards you and they're just like in a weird directions and there's also two of them back to back, don't try and go in. He's going to attack. And he's going to do his quick attack, which means he's not going to be particularly vulnerable afterwards anyway. Just a heads up. It's also unfortunate because he does that like he did there, and then I waited out because, like I said, it's hard to punish. You don't want to, make a mistake trying to punish it. And then what does he do after I waited out? He throws another skull. So now there's 3 skulls on the map, and because I was waiting it out, the one that you can see on the screen there in the top right has a timer of 1 on it, which means it's ready to explode, which means I have to accommodate that one exploding, which means I can't worry about I have to deal with all 3, long story short. I'm pausing a lot because a lot of interesting things are going on here. This right here, let me pause. I want to get the right pause. But when I go to the bottom of the screen here, this right here. So Hades is getting ready to do his attack. I wanted to pause it a second before I did that dash. So like the pause that I did before I paused again. But anyway, right here is an example of why I would lose this fight a lot on previous attempts. So thankfully I dashed to the left into that gap and it worked out well. But when you have those rings expanding and he comes down at you with the spin attack and there's a wall behind you, like you're trapped, that's when I would get hit the most. That's what I considered. I think I was messaging you, Beaan, and I would call it like getting put in a precarious situation or something like that.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I don't remember if that's the exact word I used, but I described it some silly way like that. And so like, because I think I was talking about the one time I came really close and I failed, and I was like, on one hand, it's upsetting because obviously I failed to execute, but on the other hand, it's especially upsetting because I feel like I did execute at everything except the precarious situations, when you get in a tough, and I just described how I ended up there, like the fact that you don't want to try and punish him when he's doing his shooting things both ways, so on and so forth. And so then you have to deal with the fact that there's now multiple rings and now he's doing his spin. And when it gets to the second phase, anybody who's already seen and is familiar with the second phase will know that he puts out like vases and stuff. So imagine if they were also still on the screen. So I can't go into one of them. I can't go into the ring. I can't go into his spin. And your dash gives you a vulnerability, but I can only dash to accommodate one of those things. I can dash to accommodate his big spin. There's been times where I got hit because I was trapped in a corner and he did a spin and I had to time the dash. I didn't have a choice of like getting out of the way. I couldn't dash away from it. I had to dash to time it. And that's just my fault. I mistimed it. But when you have 3 different things that you have to deal with, it's like, which one do you want to accommodate? You have to keep an opening, an escape route available at all times. And right there, I did. I had the escape route to the bottom left. It was the only one I had, and thankfully I took it. Obviously, I had the legendary thing too. But, you know, just kind of describing the tough situations that he'll put you in. And this can happen when he has minions out too. Thankfully, it didn't here. Or like when, like in his second phase, like I said, when he has vases out, vases, whatever, I don't know. So like, yeah, when earlier I'm like, look at me just kiting him, no problemo. Yeah, it is no problemo until it isn't.
Exactly.
So you get in a situation like that. Or like the worst ones that I just described, like if he has vases or if he has minions, so on and so forth. And again, if you watch this, I feel like, I mean, I've been talking a lot, but even when you have chimed in, or even if somebody's watching and they're thinking this, I feel like it looks like I'm doing really well. I feel like I'm doing really well, right?
It's just taking forever.
Well, that's not what I was going to say. The point that I was going to make is I'm doing really well, you think, until you realize that I'm literally not halfway through, because I'm not even through his first health bar. His second phase is supposed to be harder, so I'm not figuratively halfway, even if I was through his first bar, and he's basically halfway through my health. And I had the legendary boon, which means that's a bunch of hits that it tanked for me. So as good as I've been doing, I'm not doing
most
good.
Of the hits you've taken, not even probably, just is most of the hits that you've taken.
Yeah, I know what you like. I've like the legendary has absorbed more than I've actually raw taken. You know, so like, just think about that. So that's to say that I guess that's my point, is that it's not easy, or it's not like, oh, get the legendary and kite him and you have an easy win. You know, it's like it's still hard because I thought I did good and I still struggled. Again, I didn't want to pause too much, but you know, why not? I'm talking about the run. I think it's worth it. But this was another tough example right here where it's paused now. When you have the 2 rings and one ring is like inside of the other one, it's like going the same trajectory as the first ring before it.
Yeah. Because
I have to dash through the first. Well, I mean, I could have went a different route. I could have like dashed to the top left corner, like where the door is up, or where it says God of the, and then like walk to the exterior of it. But then I don't know what Hades is gonna do, and you don't want to be in a corner against him. That's clearly a better option than what I actually did. I'm just kind of justifying what I did in the moment. You don't you don't want to be in a corner, so you're like, well, I have to go this way. You have to dash through the ring. But when I dash that ring, I now can't dash through the other ring. That's, I didn't choose the right option, but I can see why I chose the wrong option. Like why it looked like the right option. And that was another example of the legendary absorbing one for me. But then right there, right after it, I immediately did make the smart option of taking the high route, because that one's going to, that thing's going to go off and I'm going to get to where it can't reach me. I dashed through it, but I could have kept walking up and it wouldn't have reached me. For anybody who's new or who struggles with Hades, and again, doesn't mind spoilers and is thus watching this video, I should point out, I specifically, while he was up here, just chilling, doing whatever the heck he's doing over there, I went as far away as possible and waited, because I'm waiting on my legendary. Not because you have to, or I couldn't have got a hit in or whatever. I was playing it safe. I don't know what he's doing up there. He's not immediately walking towards me like he sometimes does, but I got close to the ring, dodged the ring immediately, and waited behind a pillar. Yeah, he was doing the attack I talked about earlier, where he shoots twice and then dash attacks. But I was like, I need my legendary back. I was getting ready to say something before that. Oh yeah. For anybody who's playing Hades, playing against Hades, the boss, like playing the final boss for the first time, or like wants to beat him for the first time, or and doesn't mind spoilers and is thus watching this video, one advice that I will give is those rings feel like they expand for forever, but they do not expand for forever. They do have maximum reaches, and then they just kind of die out. And then the bottom of the map and the left side of the map have like little square areas. I gotta hit again. I should have dashed into those rings. But there's little square areas up there, and the square area down bottom are often places, unless the skull is over there, obviously. Like you can see there, those rings didn't reach me. Those are usually safe places to get out of the range of the rings, because they do have maximum ranges. I know it's kind of obvious if you're watching this video to see that they have maximum ranges, but when you're in the fight yourself, it feels like they go forever. Especially if you're new to it. I was really upset. I should have known by now whether it did or didn't, but I was really upset that my cast didn't one-shot though.
Yeah.
And I could have snuck over and got a hit into. Bean, how are you enjoying watching this?
I'm a little tired to be honest, but it's alright.
Any thoughts on my technique? Are you impressed?
It's consistent.
Look how this does 486 when I deflect it into another skull.
Oh my god.
It doesn't do 486 when I deflect it into him, which means he probably has like a defense modifier or something. But I just thought that was interesting. I feel like, obviously you heard me talk about it a bunch, but I feel like now you specifically can see with how much I've talked to you about like what I was saying. Like you already referenced earlier like a war of attrition, but how it's just like so execution heavy, you know?
Yeah, you just can't fuck up.
It's not like I'm creatively thinking on the spot.
No, you're just doing the same thing over and over.
You're not
again.
improvising, you just have to do it well. Normally, and again, this is advice for anybody who's trying to beat Hades for the first time and is like further into their playthrough, they're not like doing a first run thing. If you have a call, sometimes, and I keep rewinding a lot, but I'm going to do it real quick. Sometimes like this hit that I do on this skull right here, I don't have anything that'll kill this skull while its clock is at 1. I'm going to have to dodge its ring. But if I had a call, I could still hit it to build up meter because hitting anything builds up meter. So I have definitely done that on like high heat runs on purpose. Especially if your call is really good, or if you have like a Zeus boon that makes your God gauge go up faster, that can be a legit technique to just beat them up even if you're not going to be able to take them out. Land stray hits. It is convenient that he gives you things like that. Same thing with the boon I referenced earlier in this run, the Ares boon that makes you do more damage after you kill an enemy. The skulls count for that. So if you have a boon that's like you do 150% on your next attack after defeating an enemy, the skulls count as an enemy.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie and say I didn't. I definitely, while I was playing this, was looking at his health chip down whenever I would hit him with the cast. Because the cast actually does like a visible, noticeable chunk, you know?
Yeah.
Dang it. I should have known. I've been pausing so much. I should have known that I was. Obviously, when I beat him, I was tense. I was like half health. He's going to go to his form. I really want to beat it. So I paused and I took a breath. I mentioned this earlier, but again, for anybody who's watching this after the fact, when I'm playing games a lot, I am not opposed to like taking a break in the action and settling myself down, or just going on the internet and chatting with somebody, like messaging Beaan, or just getting on Discord. I do things in the middle of playing games, and I just leave the game on the television for a bit. So that's what's happening here. I'm not, I don't know, handing the controller to my friend to beat it for me. You know, I don't know what you could think that I would be doing here. I'm not looking up videos on how to beat the second form or anything. I've played the second form a million times. I know what I'm doing to a degree. This is probably my longest pause though, because I was really composing myself because I really wanted to beat this.
No, I remember you texting me during this being like, all right, dude, I have like the legendary Athena boon and it's taking forever and I'm just about to get to the second. I remember. I also remember afterwards of just like doing my own thing, and then you texted me after I freaking did it.
Yeah. So obviously Beaan is my guest on the stream. He's also my best friend in real life. So I was definitely talking him, like text messaging him through my adventures of trying to do this. So that was definitely one of the things that was happening when it was paused. Oh yeah, I forgot about his beam attack. There's like speed runs and stuff that you'll see online of people that like get in and hug him on his beam attack. When I was playing on my other save file, I did that like late, but that's never something that I tried while doing a first run attempt. Mainly because it's so freaking risky. If you don't get the spacing right, those do like 20 per hit, and they hit you at the rate that like the laser beam guys earlier hit you at. So it's just like 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, and it kind of defeats the purpose of my legendary too. Because you're for sure taking another hit right after it.
Yeah, there's no way you're just taking one.
It is inconvenient when that beam's coming and a skull's counting down like that. Especially with the build I have. Like if you're using something else like the bow or the railgun. The railgun can shoot the special projectile over top of the thing, the pillars. But my build doesn't have a way to attack those, is basically what I'm getting at, while I'm hiding behind a pillar, like right now. And I have those things coming. Obviously, I didn't get hit there, but like those are just, again, kind of the situations you can get stuck in. You'll see a lot that if you're using the sword, for anybody watching, definitely take advantage of this. The fact that I'm not looking at Hades. When you attack with melee weapons, usually you have to face directly at him, but the fact that the sword has an area of effect attack is so convenient that I would just use that a lot to hit him in my hit and run manner and then just get out of there. Because I don't have to aim it. Get relatively near him, do it, and keep moving. As opposed to if I tried to hit him with my sword, especially the dash attack, which is just like a stab, a straight line stab. One other thing, I'm not going to rewind it, even though I was tempted to do it, but one other thing to note is that his skulls, when they do their ring attack, destroy his vases. So you will never see me attempt to attack his vases in this run whatsoever. Not only because all of his attacks, including the skulls, destroy them, but also because they do a lot of damage. The gimmick behind them is that they lock you in place so that he can then hit you, but usually with how slow he acts, usually he doesn't hit me even when I get hit by them, but it's still not worth the risk. I am dashing through some of them there, so I guess I am going against my own word, but I also got hit by one. Ooh. Got hit by two. I got hit by one that cost me a legendary and then got hit for 20. Ooh. Got hit for 20 again. That was another situation of me being behind the pillar because of his beams coming, and then, Yeah, being stuck with that. So, down to 80. I definitely didn't beat it with 120, if that's what you thought when I beat the first form. I didn't beat it comfortably. One good thing about his final form, again, for anybody who's trying this out for yourself, is if you have something like poison, that's a bad build for his first form, because when he disappears, it gets rid of the poison. But I don't know if maybe some people didn't notice this when they're playing through or whatever. His second form never disappears. He's always active on the screen. So it also never gets rid of the things that you inflict. Especially later on, if you've already got to Demeter and unlocked her, she does chill. And chill is not effective against his first form, but it's very useful against his second form if you have a way to inflict it fast. If you can get like 10 layers of chill on him, they do like 4% slowdown per, I think. So if you can get the boss Hades 40% slowed down, that's very convenient.
Yeah. Probably making it way easier.
I mean, he still feels relatively fast, but it doesn't, to me personally, it doesn't feel like 40%, even though that's what the numbers say. That was an unfortunate situation because when he does his vase summoning thing where he pauses and slams his spear, you can get a lot of damage in because he just stands there.
Skulls right there.
But he was surrounded, yeah. I just played that really safe. I still got hit by the laser beam. It cost me my legendary shield, but I just dipped out. Playing it so safe against his traps is what caused me to get hit by the laser because I didn't see that he was doing that attack. So it's kind of a give and take. Honestly, his second form, it's different. On a first run, I don't know if I would say it's harder or not. In other runs, it definitely can be harder. But I would say that his second form feels like it has less health because he doesn't pause twice to summon minions, and because of what I was saying earlier, he doesn't disappear, which both gets rid of statuses and also he's literally not there to attack.
His health's definitely going down quicker in the second form.
Yeah, I mean, every time that I inflict poison on the second form, he takes every hit of poison because he doesn't disappear. So I think my poison does 6%, and poison always inflicts 8 times because it hits every half second and it's active for 4 seconds, so it hits 8 times. So 6 times 8, that's what he's taking every time I land a special. Which it's 48, by the way. I can do math. Bean, I think your audio is really low again.
Oh, no, I'm just further away from the mic. My bad. I was reclining.
But yeah, even compared to the first form, I specifically tried to do the poison attack more because I knew it would do 48 as opposed to doing, 8 and then him going invisible. Obviously, that's still less than Doom, and this is what I was talking about earlier, where I was like, Doom is like, I don't want to say objectively better, but more often than not better.
Yeah.
That was an unfortunate situation. But yeah, Doom is more often than not better, because, you know, 80 is better than 48. And if the Doom was on, because you could argue that I said 80 is better than 48, but I've upgraded my Doom and I haven't upgraded. 50 is also better than 48, and also the Doom would be higher than 50 if it was on your special. So, and the Hangover would be less than 48 if it was on your attack. But none of that's relevant to this fight right now. Even when he does things where he stands still and I can get a lot of hits in. Oh, something else I would say, you can see that now that he's in the second half of this form, he's doing like the full screen lasers as opposed to the 3. If you're later on and you have like double dash and you have, you know, you're not doing a first run attempt, it's not so hard to get behind the 3 lasers and just attack him from behind. Obviously you can't do that with this one. You can still do the hug technique.
I can't get the melody right. You said double dash.
I'm just kind of watching my own thing. I know I'm supposed to be adding commentary, but I was just kind of checking it out. I don't remember what my health gets to, so you know that'll be fun for all of us, I guess. I think it does get pretty low, to be honest, though. I definitely don't beat him at 68, I don't think.
Ooh, yep, there you go.
Oh, that was something I was saying earlier. Whenever he does line up to where he can get hit multiple times, like I said, when he summons the vases and he puts the spear down, for instance, dang. That's really scary because for anybody who's...
this got really tense.
Yeah, for anybody who's watching this and doesn't know, obviously Beaan already knows, but when you have the skull on you, you take either, I want to say 1.5 times damage. So basically anything is going to one-shot me is the point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It might even be double damage. It's either 1.5 or double, and I think it's double actually, because there was times where he would hit me with the skull and then hit me with the spin attack, and it did 80 damage. And I think the spin by default does 40. So.
Oh my god.
Yeah. It's the memories are coming
Now
back to me
like,
now.
Please come back. Please come back, Shield. What I'm imagining is going through your head right now.
I mean, I was real tense, like, and this is another thing. I was talking earlier, before I started this video, about how I think this game is easy, especially once you get upgrades. If I had double dash, suddenly that's not a threat, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I still got through it with single dash, but you could just imagine if they were a little closer together, you know? I felt like I was the biggest gambling man in the world there. Instead of waiting for my legendary, I went over and tried to sneak one hit in. And there goes my legendary. Because of the traps.
Man.
Like sometimes it's really, I was scared that I was going to like peek out the side, like not be behind the barrier, you know? Sometimes it's really useful, the fact that his attacks can destroy the vases. And then other times it's not useful, like you just saw.
Man.
Look how much health he has too. It's not even like he's dead, you know? So I had to...
This had to be so freaking tense.
I had to clutch this out for that much health, which with the damage output that I have is a lot.
Yeah.
I knew I took more damage. I didn't remember. I remember now, but I didn't remember that I went all the way down to 6. This was where I was kind of on the edge. I was talking about this earlier. I think this might have been when your audio was out being, but I was talking about like sometimes you have to make the decisions between I can't believe, even after I did it, I can't believe that I stood still with the confidence that that wasn't going to hit me, as opposed to going down in the corner. I was just like, nope, I'm good. But yeah, this is where I was having the thoughts I was referring to earlier, where you worry about like, do you go all out for offense and try to end the fight quick?
Oh.
Or,
fuck, that was close.
Or do you, play safe and try to hit and run, which just means more room for error? And so a couple times I got real gutsy when I was down at 6 health, and I was like, I'm going to get a hit in. Screw it, I'm going to get a hit in. Which has already happened a couple times. I didn't pause it and point it out, but, I could tell. Thankfully, he didn't summon any vases down low. I don't know how I managed to avoid all them.
I had no idea.
But thankfully, he summoned all his vases on the left side of the screen and none on the... With isometric games, it's hard to describe left and right.
Yeah. Especially this game where the perspective isn't even true to what's actually happening on the...
I really want my legendary to come back. I really, even if I lose it immediately to those, I just really would, because those would have killed me. That would have been it.
Yeah.
I think I'm in the clear now with the legendary and with how little health he has. I don't think there's any more like scary moments. I like the music though.
I
What did you say?
can't hear it.
Oh. Well, it sets the scene well.
Woo!
Look, I was talking about it earlier. I even beat him with the beautiful dash attack. Just plunge the sword right into your dad.
Go. Go. Get out of here. Get out.
And I let this rock a little bit because I knew I was going to be recording this, so anybody who hadn't seen it or who just wants to see it. Obviously, I skipped all the other dialogue, but you know, you can see what happens when you beat it.
Goodbye.
I don't think any of this is any different than the first time you ever escape.
Wait, just if you
Like, even if you escape on the 15th attempt.
Mm-hmm.
if you somehow find her, tell her something for me. Tell her.
Oh, I forgot that you can't hear it. I was
Why is
enjoying
that a
just listening to
question?
this.
If you somehow find her, why is that a question? That's not a question.
What? Wait, I don't think I owe you
I
any
don't know.
favors here. Well, answer me one question.
Get it together, Super Giants writers.
I don't think it's a grammatical error so much as like he was saying it in a questioning kind of voice.
Yeah.
Like he was
No, I
questioning
understand.
the
I'm
own things.
giving
he was
him a
saying.
hard time.
Darkness.
But also, I cannot hear the numbers. So
That's fair. So for anybody who doesn't know, Bean's not watching the Twitch stream because it would be delayed, so his commentary would be off. He's watching. I'm sharing screen with him on Discord outside of this, and so he can see everything that's happening the instant it's happening, but he can't hear anything because he can only see the screen. So this screen, I was gonna say this screen proves that I beat it on the first attempt, but nowhere on the screen does it say it was the first attempt. It just says it was the first victory. But I mean, obviously.
nah, the dialogue choice where you called him incompetent.
I mean, if you watch this video from the beginning, obviously, I loaded up a fresh save file. But, yeah, that was my build. Oh, I forgot. I was talking earlier about 48 damage for the hangover because I said it inflicts every half second for 4 seconds, so 8 hits. But I forgot I had the duo boot that made it inflict more than that. Wasn't every half second, it was every 0.35
right.
second. So that does increase the damage. Whenever you beat the game, it just kind of chooses whatever things it thought were significant in your run and puts them up on the screen. But you can go over and click the ones that you like if you were like, these are the real ones that mattered, you know, to set your scene. But yeah, it took 69 minutes, and that's not including me walking through like the empty tunnels and everything. I did play it very safe. Obviously, if you go on YouTube, you can see some crazy maniacs that are doing like speed runs in however many minutes. But maybe, possibly, theirs doesn't have commentary. I mean, well, it has commentary from the devs, but this is different. I gave you insight. Yeah, I let that sit on the screen. I was probably messaging Beaan at the time. Almost certainly was messaging Beaan at the time.
Yeah, you were messaging me. I did it!
But yeah, you get Titan blood for beating him.
For what?
Zagreus rants about random stuff, and then we'll get to see the ending here. I think I mentioned this earlier in the stream, but anybody who's checking this out or is like, wow, that's a short game or there's not much to it or whatever, to get the actual credits, you don't get the credits for escaping once. This is beating the final boss, but you have to beat the final boss 10 times to get the actual credits and then the actual story ending and stuff.
I made it.
To beat him 10 times, it doesn't have to get harder. You can play on the same difficulty 10 times, and it'll actually get easier because you'll unlock things and progress.
Cold.
But
Sure hope this
you can
works.
make it harder after you beat him. There's like difficulty adjustments and stuff that you can modify. But yeah, you have to beat it 10 times, and then you get the genuine credits, and then there's still a bunch of extra content after that. So I would not consider this game like a short game. It's short, like it does reuse things a lot. You are redoing the same things frequently, but I personally think there's a real enjoyment to the challenge it has.
The surface, windswept.
I figured since I beat it, I could actually like listen to the things, you know, for anybody who's watching it or just want to hear some of the beautiful voices in the game.
Beautiful.
Although I say that and then I skip that one halfway through. So there's one spot here. The first time that you beat the game, you can go up to this spot and it shows like a sunrise. It doesn't do that every time that you beat the game. So if you don't do it, you'll miss it. It's not anything crazy, but I do it just so that anybody could see. It does like a pan out, like it does when you go to certain areas on the map.
The sun.
Obviously, Zagreus has never seen the sun before. He's been in the underworld his whole life, so he's amazed. But yeah, if you don't walk to that little like hillside, if you just keep walking straight the path, he won't make that commentary. It won't do that pan out.
Could you imagine never seeing the sun your entire life? What that experience would be like seeing it?
I mean, his feet are like mini suns.
It's not.
Oh, Bean, I was talking about earlier about I was showing the fish that I got. They'll be in that like puddle that you see right there. At first, when you get far enough in to the game, I think maybe after the credits roll, like I said, you won't go to Persephone's thing every time because she won't be there. Story-wise, you still go there. Zag is like visiting his mom's farm and making sure it's well kept and whatever. But yeah, you won't do this walk every single time, which makes sense because it would kind of get tedious. But the fish will then show up where you fought Hades.
Oh.
There was like a little pond where, like behind where he starts, where he throws his cape off, and there was another one in the bottom right corner, and you can fish after you defeat him. I just think that was kind of a cute thing. Hades actually, if there's a fishing spot behind him where he starts, he does have dialogue for that. We'll talk about this blasted thing and how he can't manage to get it. I dashed around here for a bit just because I wanted to show off all the excuse me, all the assets that they use on the farm here with Zag's mom. And if you were watching through this stream or this video, you'll see earlier that you got to see Queen Persephone, and then now we'll get to see Gardener Persephone. I was in a moment of bliss after having beat this. So I was just dashing around having fun.
You must be Persephone. My name is Zagreus, and
What? How dare!
Shit.
Get out of here! Get out, or I shall make you.
I haven't eaten dinner.
I'm kind of curious as to how she would have made me. Maybe that would be a good optional boss fight, you know?
leaving until I get some answers.
What?
Never even knew you existed.
Persephone just said, "Get out of here, or else I'll make you." Like, she threatened you.
You died.
For anybody who doesn't know, there is actually an alternate boss fight. Well, not alternate, but like a special boss fight that you can fight Charon, who's the shopkeeper.
Now you're standing.
And that is, I was gonna say arguably harder than Hades. I don't know. It's comparable to Hades.
Gods. You
It's definitely harder depending on where you come across him in your run, because you can fight Charon all the way back at Tartarus,
Zagreus.
and so you're not well built to fight him like you would be Hades.
Your name.
But I just think that's a super cool thing for anybody who didn't already know. Another reason maybe to boot your game back up and give it a try. I think that boss fight against Charon is super fun.
My son.
He has less moves than Hades, but they're all equally like as threatening as Hades moves. So, you know, you still have to give him respect. Bean had a really good time fighting Charon.
In short, I beat him finally.
I was so upset that run. That was such a good build.
But there's something he wanted me to tell you in the end. He said to tell you Cerberus is
I
doing
feel like I
very
didn't
well.
last very long at all. I don't remember though.
With Charon, fun fact, you don't have to empty his health bar all the way. You don't kill him.
That's good.
He just
Yeah.
concedes. But it's not like 1/3 or anything. You have to get it like it's like when he has like 1/8 or 1/9 left.
Oh.
I'm just a little tired, that's all.
No.
Also, a cool thing for anybody who doesn't know,
You're
Demeter's legendary,
out.
what you call it,
Fates are
boon.
cruel, Zagreus.
It kills any chilled enemies when they're at 10% health.
I can
Just kills them outright.
come back.
And when it's like a regular enemy, they just kind of
You
like
tell
explode,
him I demand
like
it,
in a frosty death.
and I demand
Um,
he also
But it
do
works
it.
on bosses too, which I think is super, super cool.
I,
And it'll show like a Grim Reaper's sickle, like a frosty
I
scythe,
go.
come down and slice them, and
Styx shall
even
take
Hades
you.
will die at 10% health.
Oh, Zagreus.
That's cool.
It'll work on both forms too, first form and last form. He has to be chilled, of course, but yeah,
Yeah.
It takes
I just think that's super cool.
can't hold on.
Alright. Bye-bye, I guess?